So a lot has gone down in regards to the Assassin's Creed franchise these past few weeks, and I haven't made a video covering any of the recent updates and information. That is until now. A few months ago I made a video going over the future of Assassin's Creed and what to expect, and since then there's been some updates regarding a lot of the things mentioned in that video, such as some new speculation and information on the Black Flag remake, the Tencent subsidiary situation that could have major implications for the Assassin's Creed franchise, new story information about the clause of Awaji DLC for Shadows, an update on the Assassin's Creed Netflix game and TV adaptation, and also an April Fool's joke where I made up a Black Flag remake leak that got surprisingly picked up by several gaming outlets and more. So yeah, we got a lot to go over in this video, but first let me talk to you about something just as important as keeping up with video game news: protecting your personal data online. Let me ask you something. Have you ever gotten one of those weird spam calls or texts and wondered, how the hell did they get my number? Or maybe you searched your name online and saw your address, your relatives' information, or maybe your financial information just there, publicly available. Well, that is because of data brokers. And that's where Incogni, today's sponsor, comes in. Incogni is a service that automatically scrubs your personal data from over 230 data broker sites. The same ones that buy, sell, and leak your info without you ever knowing. These brokers collect everything from your full name and phone number to your health data, political affiliation, shopping habits, and even employment history, all bundled up and sold like you're a product. And with data breaches up 72% in the past year, the risks are higher than ever. You could manually contact all of these sites to request data removal, but trust me, that would take hundreds of hours. Or you could sign up for Incogni, give them permission to act on your behalf, and they will handle the rest, sending out takedown requests, fighting any objections, and continuously rescanning to keep your data offline for good. Here's something I did not even know until recently. In the US, people search sites like White Pages or Being Verified can list not just you, but your family, your workplace, even minor children as associates. That's not just creepy, but also very dangerous. Identity theft, stalking, even scams that use AI to mimic the voice of your loved ones. All of it starts with your data being too easy to find. So if you care about your privacy, or you just want fewer scam calls and emails, now is the perfect time. Head to incogni.com/hidden1 and use code hidden1 to get 60% off an annual plan. It's genuinely a no-brainer, and yes, there is a 30-day money-back guarantee if it's not for you. Again, that's incogni.com/hidden1, code hidden1 for 60% off. Link is right at the top of the description and in the pinned comment below. Let's start off with everything new regarding the Black Flag remake. But before I go over what's new, I need to give a refresher for those who don't know about this. There is indeed a Black Flag remake in the works. Now, don't confuse this with a remaster. This is supposed to be a remake, meaning work done from the ground up. This all came from this one LinkedIn profile from a Ubisoft game designer who will not be named, where they pretty much confirmed it. The profile reveals their role as a game designer on something called Assassin's Creed Black Flag Remake, which of course strongly suggests that development is well and truly underway, possibly nearing a reveal window, something I'll go over later in the video. Now, some context to know about this developer is that this is the same person that also worked on Warzone and the Elder Scrolls Oblivion remake, which, fun fact, was also leaked through their profile earlier this year. Now, while Ubisoft has not yet to officially announce the Black Flag remake, everything from the developer's LinkedIn profile to insider reports points it to being pretty much confirmed. Now, based on leaks and a bunch of insider information, it looks like they're completely reworking a lot of the game's core systems. I'm talking about changes to combat, how the environments work, how wildlife and sea life behave. Basically, the whole ecosystem seems to be getting an overhaul. This is all thanks to the new engine tech, the same upgraded Anvil engine that they're using for Assassin's Creed Shadows, which, let's be honest, is pretty impressive. And because of that, they can now take things like dynamic weather, smarter AI, or even revamped combat from Shadows and drop them directly into the Black Flag remake. And it is all possible because they've shifted into this new cloud-based system called Scalar Tech, which is basically a way to let Ubisoft studios around the world share and plug in game systems without everything being a complete mess. There is also a big reason where they could just, reuse the assets that they had for Skull and Bones and implement them into the Black Flag remake. So yeah, that's essentially the basic idea of what this Black Flag remake could be like. Now, just a few weeks ago, as I've been making this video, it does seem like the Black Flag remake may have just been quietly confirmed even more by none other than, you'd never guess, the PlayStation Store. So not a Ubisoft developer, not some insider information, the goddamn PlayStation Store. A lot of people have noticed that, Assassin's Creed Black Flag now carries the announced tag on the store, which typically only appears for newly revealed titles. Instead of showing a price or purchase options like usual, the store listing simply states that the game has been announced. Now, to me, this feels like a back-end update may have gone live earlier than intended, which for Ubisoft sounds about right. I mean, everything they seem to do seems to get leaked, and I'm slowly starting to feel a bit sorry for them. But to be fair, this kind of slip up from the PS Store is not uncommon, as platform holders like PlayStation often prepare store entries and metadata weeks, sometimes months, in advance of a game's official reveal. In this case, it seems like the Black Flag remake may have been accidentally marked as announced ahead of schedule, and it could be coming out quite soon. Now, that's just one update regarding the Black Flag remake. Another update pointing toward the Black Flag remake came from Rick Bower's Instagram story recently. Now, if you don't know who Rick Bower is, this is the guy behind RBF Productions NL, a company that's been working with Ubisoft for years. He's done everything from cosplay to dioramas to full-on promotional campaigns, often dressing up as Assassin's Creed characters like Altair, Basim, and of course Edward Kenway. While in one of his latest stories, he showed that he's currently working on a brand new Edward Kenway costume. And honestly, with all the remake talk floating around lately, the timing of this feels a bit too perfect to be random. I did not manage to grab screenshots of all of his stories, but I did grab one where you can see the Edward outfit in progress. I even messaged him privately to ask if it's for the Black Flag remake, and while he didn't really give a clear answer, his reply was pretty interesting. He said, well, it's definitely a costume remake. So yeah, make of that what you will. Knowing his past work with Ubisoft, especially when it comes to Assassin's Creed promotions, it would not be surprising at all if he's involved again. And if he's back making an Edward Kenway outfit, that's probably a strong sign that something official is on the horizon. This next update on the Black Flag remake is one that you should definitely take with a grain of salt. It comes from Jonathan. Now, if you're not familiar with Jonathan, he's a fairly well-known leaker and has a solid track record. In fact, he was the first person to ever leak gameplay for Assassin's Creed Mirage. He was the first person to reveal the multiplayer details for Assassin's Creed Invictus, which I covered in this video, and he's also said a few things that have turned out to be true. Recently, he tweeted about the Black Flag remake, saying, "Don't expect much from the Black Flag remake. It'll mostly be a graphical update with minor gameplay improvements, but overall the game will be the same. Unfortunately, it won't be on par with RE2 or Final Fantasy VII remakes." Now, if that turns out to be true, that might actually be a good thing, even though he said unfortunately. Personally, that's exactly what I'm hoping for. Just give us a faithful remake with graphics that are on par with Shadows, and maybe some light quality of life updates. Don't mess with what already works. I say that because honestly, I don't fully trust Ubisoft to completely overhaul this game without screwing something up. Whether it's cutting mocap for cost saving reasons or tweaking the story in unnecessary ways, there's always the worry that they'll overstep. Jonathan also makes an important comparison. He says this remake will not be on the level of something like Resident Evil 2 or Final Fantasy VII Remake. Now that's interesting because both of these remakes essentially reimagine their original games with new mechanics, new scenes, and even story changes in Final Fantasy VII's case. So if Black Flag is not aiming for that kind of remake and is instead going for a more kind of Remaster Plus, it sets a much clearer expectation, and honestly that might be for the best. Another recent update I want to talk about involves Tom Henderson, who honestly needs no introduction at this point. He recently replied to a tweet saying Obsidian, which is the Black Flag remake, and Invictus, which is the Assassin's Creed multiplayer, will launch on Infinity before Hex. Now that is a lot of code names, so if you're not familiar, Infinity refers to the Animus hub. I'm not entirely sure why Tom Henderson used the term Infinity in this context, but either way, it seems like the Black Flag remake will be tied to the Animus hub, which as we know, currently includes only the last 5 Assassin's Creed games, so it's safe to assume that any future AC titles will be released through that hub too. What's also interesting is that in the same reply, Tom mentions that both the Black Flag remake and Invictus will launch before Hex. Now considering how Shadow's multiple delays affected the entire Assassin's Creed roadmap, this is pretty significant. According to Tom, Hex is now expected to release in 2027, not 2026, meaning we should see the multiplayer game and the Black Flag remake before then. Now personally, I think the multiplayer game seems more likely to drop sometime in late 2025. You might say that's a terrible time because of GTA 6, and fair enough, but let's be completely honest, GTA 6 was always going to overshadow everything. So yeah, I'm expecting the Black Flag remake in 2026 and Hex in 2027. Now that brings me on to something upcoming, and that is Ubisoft Forward. Now Ubisoft Forward, if you don't know, is an event where they show off announcements and updates on upcoming games. This often happens every year around June or July under Summer Games Fest. Now it's not actually confirmed that there is an event happening, especially given the situation around Tencent and the Subsidiary situation, which I'll cover later in the video. But let's say it does happen as expected. What can we expect from Ubisoft Forward in the next few months? Now, if I were to give some predictions, I'd expect an official announcement of one of the Assassin's Creed projects. This may either be the Black Flag Remake announcement with a potential release date, or an Assassin's Creed Invictus announcement. One of those for sure. I just don't see a world where they don't announce something Assassin's Creed related on that day. As for a more unpredictable idea, I can't imagine they reveal something to do with Assassin's Creed Shadows. Now, that could either be the second expansion, a potential Cassandra crossover, or maybe even the co-op mode that's been rumored for a while. But something Assassin's Creed Shadows related for sure. In fact, what do you guys predict will be revealed or announced at Ubisoft Forward, if it even is a thing this year? But staying on the topic of Assassin's Creed Shadows, we have some new information regarding the close of Awaji DLC. Now, just a heads up, this information will contain spoilers for both the base game of Shadows and also the events of stuff that will happen in the DLC, so you have been warned. I would recommend skipping this part and going straight to the next segment if you want no spoilers at all. But for those who have finished the main story and want to know about the DLC, let's now talk about the new information that we got for the close of Awaji expansion. So Slider V2, who if you are not aware is a well-known data miner for different games, he's definitely somebody you've seen before on your YouTube homepage. He data mines cut content, unused stuff, and that's the realm he's good at. When it comes to the close of Awaji DLC, he managed to data mine the files and discover some new information and plot points regarding the DLC. So we know that the epilogue really sets the stage, with Hattori Hanzo dropping that bombshell about to lead on Naoe's mother Tsuyu, and then boom, we see Naoe, Yasuke and Junjiro gazing out at Awaji Island. As for the DLC details, Naoe, who is driven by this hope of finding her mother, heads to Awaji. But as things always go, it's not a simple reunion. Yasuke, being the loyal friend he is, tags along and quickly realizes that Awaji is not some peaceful paradise. Something is definitely off. Turns out they find Tsuyu, but she has been through the ringer, rescued from this ruthless Templar ruler named Kimura Yukari. It sounds like this Kimura person is running a tight ship, and not in a good way. Tsuyu reveals that she stashed the sword regalia on the island years ago, so now Naoe and Yasuke are tasked with finding this powerful artifact. And yeah, that's essentially what Slider V2 managed to data mine. It's pretty clear that the DLC is going to be a mix of personal quest and Templar hunt. Naoe's got the emotional drive to find her mother and understand her past, while Yasuke is there as yeah, I have no idea why he's there, but maybe he's there for the Templars, I don't know. And with the sword regalia thrown into the DLC, it honestly sounds more promising than the base game, to be fair. Now hopefully it's going to be good, because the people over at Ubisoft Bordeaux, who made and developed Assassin's Creed Mirage, are working on this DLC. We also got some new updates regarding Assassin's Creed on Netflix, which is both the game and the live action TV show. As for the live action TV show, this was something that was announced back in 2020 as part of a bigger collaboration between Netflix and Ubisoft, and the project has been quiet for a long time. So quiet, in fact, that many people wondered if it had been shelved altogether. Well, an update has come out as of today when I'm making this video on April the 2nd, suggesting that the Assassin's Creed live action TV show on Netflix is still alive and kicking. So in an interview with Netflix's head of gaming, Elaine Tascan mentioned that the live-action Assassin's Creed series is still on the cards. So yeah, that's great news, I guess. The series was first revealed alongside plans for more Assassin's Creed related content on the platform, and it was supposed to be a fresh new take on the franchise outside of the games. At the time, Ubisoft's head of film and TV, Jason Altman, said that they were expected to partner with Netflix, calling Assassin's Creed an iconic franchise shaped by millions of fans around the world. Even though there's still no word on a release date or casting, the new reports confirmed that the series is still in active development. It has not been scrapped. It's a relief for those who have been waiting for a proper adaptation since the 2016 movie did not quite hit the mark, let's be completely honest. As for the Netflix Assassin's Creed game, well, that's also received an update, but it's not as positive. So Stephen Totillo, who is a reporter at GameFile, asked Netflix's head of gaming if the Assassin's Creed Netflix game is still happening, and his response to that question was, and I quote, "Not that I know of." So yeah, that's pretty much cooked at this point. But hey, a live action TV show sounds better in my opinion. Now, in a completely different light, let's go over the recent Tencent and Ubisoft situation and what this means for Assassin's Creed. So if you are not aware, or if you are aware but don't really know what's going on, Ubisoft have decided to create a separate new entity. Think of it like a new branch of the company, specifically for 3 of their main IPs, Assassin's Creed, Far Cry and Rainbow Six. That's where Tencent come in. Tencent, a massive Chinese tech and gaming company, decided to invest a significant chunk of money, around $1.25 billion, into this new Ubisoft entity. In exchange, they got a 25% stake in this new branch. But you see, here's the key thing to understand, and I've seen a bunch of of those rage bait grifter channels just lie about for some strange reason. Tencent did not buy 25% of Ubisoft. They bought 25% of this new separate entity that holds the rights to those specific games. They're basically betting that those games are going to keep making bank, and they want a slice of the pie. But they're not in the kitchen making the pie, if you get what I'm trying to say. This means that while they have a financial interest in the success of Assassin's Creed, Far Cry and Rainbow Six, they don't necessarily have creative control over them. Now, why did Ubisoft do this? Well, Ubisoft has not been in the greatest financial shape, and it's because of what they put out in the last 5 years. I've seen many people try and say it's because of the Assassin's Creed Shadows sales, which is 100% not the case, especially considering this Tencent situation is something that would be in the works for months. They've got a bunch of debt and more employees than their current revenue really supports. By creating this new entity and licensing these franchises out to it, Ubisoft effectively separates the moneymakers from all the baggage. This makes the new entity look a lot more attractive to investors, hence the $4 billion valuation, even though nothing really changed on a gameplay or development level. Now, what does this mean for Assassin's Creed? Honestly, probably not much. Or at least not much right away. The same developers at Ubisoft Montreal, Quebec and Sofia are still working on these games. Same leadership, same vision. It's not like Tencent is suddenly going to just add a bunch of monetization tactics or some crazy stuff like that. Now, don't get me wrong, there are some fears though, especially when you look at Tencent's track record with heavy monetization in games like League of Legends and PUBG Mobile. You may worry that this deal could eventually lead to a more aggressive microtransaction or monetization tactics in Assassin's Creed, Far Cry or Siege. But here's the thing, Tencent does not really interfere unless the product stops making money. They invest, sit back and let the devs do their thing, as long as it stays profitable. So yeah, bottom line, don't panic, but keep your eye on the monetization. Tencent may not be pulling the strings, but money always talks, and where that conversation leads is something that we'll all be watching. In a much more positive light, let's go over to Assassin's Creed Shadows for a brief second. The game has accumulated a total of 3 million players as of me making this video. In fact, I'd assume right now it's closer to 4 million than it is to 3 million. I will admit it's a bit strange that they don't just say the amount sold, but regardless, the fact that 3 million players have played Shadows just 1 week after launch is incredible. Now, it's pretty clear the game is a success. It's Assassin's Creed after all. These games will always sell well. And, don't let anybody tell you differently. I've seen some people bring up Steam charts and Steam numbers for Assassin's Creed Shadows. And that right there is how you know somebody has no clue about Assassin's Creed as a franchise. Shadows is the most played Assassin's Creed game on Steam, with a peak of 64,000. Now you might be thinking, wait, 3 million players but it peaked at 64,000 on Steam? Well, yes, that's normal. Assassin's Creed is probably one of the few franchises out there where it's heavily console dominated. In fact, I wish this whole SteamDB website was not a thing, because it completely destroyed any critical thinking and it's just turned people into idiots. The game on PlayStation has broken all sorts of records, and it's quite literally and objectively the second best launched Assassin's Creed game behind Valhalla, which, let's be honest, does that even count? Valhalla had so many factors going for it. It was launched during the peak of COVID, it was launched with the PlayStation 5, and it was released during the peak of Vikings in the media. It's a rare anomaly that we'll never see again. Assassin's Creed Shadows was the best selling game for the week launch in the US, and it's already a top 5 selling game of the year. Only Monster Hunter Wilds is above it, which makes sense given the gigantic Japanese audience that game has. So yeah, I just had to talk about that too, because there's people trying to downplay the success of Assassin's Creed Shadows, which is complete nonsense. Now don't get me wrong, this game could sell like 15-20 million copies, and it still would not be a success for Ubisoft, because Ubisoft are in a complete mess, but in terms of the Assassin's Creed IP, it's objectively a success. Okay, the last thing I want to talk about isn't really official Assassin's Creed stuff. It's more of an April Fool's thing. So on April 1st, I posted a fake leak of a Black Flag remake supposedly in development. I didn't really think much of it. Honestly, April Fools and all. I figured people would clock it as a fake straight away. But nope, it fooled a lot of people. And more surprisingly, it fooled a bunch of gaming news sites that actually picked it up. Places like Gaming Bible, Level Up News and a few others ran with it. To be fair, at first glance, it does look kind of convincing. It was a shot that looked like a recreated version of Havana from Black Flag. But if you actually zoomed in and analysed the picture closely, the floors were pretty clear. Some of the buildings were literally melting into each other, which is classic AI weirdness. The user interface had a typo that said Siege instead of Search, and the tightropes, clips, well, they were just randomly strung across the image. The reason I'm even bringing this up in this video is because it really shows you how easy it is to fake something and how quick people are to believe it without second guessing, especially if you have a sizable following. That's how those grifter channels operate. I've seen fake Assassin's Creed Hex leaks, fake Assassin's Creed Shadows leaks before the game was released, and these were all said by people with hundreds of thousands of subscribers, and people just ate it up. Just remember, having a big following does not automatically make somebody trustworthy. If I had posted that fake Black Flag Remake leak on literally any other day apart from April Fools, and I never said it was a joke, I can guarantee you that it would have been a lot bigger across the internet as a confirmed leak. Now thankfully I cleared it up about 10 hours later, before it got even more out of hand. So yeah, moral of the story, stay sharp when browsing the internet. Remember, there are no repercussions for lying on platforms like Twitter.